Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Jenny. I'm from jennycarddesigns. Thanks so much for joining me today. My YouTube channel contains content that is intended to share paper crafting tutorials and inspiration with all of you. I hope that you enjoy. Today we're going to be making a really fun project, and I'm going to take you from start to finish to create a set of note cards, including envelopes, card bases, and using up some 6x6 pattern paper. So I've got a little bin here where I've got all the components for my project. And I've got this pattern paper that's from the dollar store. It's a cute little pack. And I've also got this printable sentiments. Now this is something I've designed that you can go ahead and print for free. I'll have it linked in the description box down below. You can check that out and print out these sentiments. I also have a couple of pieces of heavyweight cardstock. This is Simon Says Stamp 110 pound cardstock. So you want to use something good and heavy for this project. All right, so let's start off with my Genvelope template reference book. Now this book is full of templates that I've designed to help you create card projects, envelopes, boxes, and so much more. So today we're going to be working with A7 projects. Now the A7 gives us the measurements for an envelope using regular cardstock, as well as the layers and the instructions on how to create a card base. Additionally, there is a template inside of this book that will show you how to create a shoebox style A7 gift box. Now this one I'm showing on screen is for an A2 card box, but we're going to create the A7 card box. The copy of my book is an original version, and the A7 shoebox is an additional template that I've just recently created. So going forward, when you purchase my Genvelope template reference book, you'll have the A7 shoebox template included in your book. So you'll find that linked in the description box down below. So let's start off by making an envelope. And we're going to start with an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock. Starting across the 8.5 inch side, we're going to score at 1/2 inch. And then we're going to score at 8 inches. And then we'll rotate the cardstock 1 turn to the left and score at 2 1/4 inches. And then score at 7.5 inches. Okay, now we're going to trim off the corners, and if you're following along the Genvelope template reference guide, this is step number 3. And we're cutting off these 4 corners that are marked here in red. And then for step number 4, we're going to angle cut those little side flaps. And then this is what your envelope should look like. You can round the corners on the top flaps of your envelope if you like. You don't have to do this method, but I find it just gives a nice look. And then we'll go ahead and crease all of the folds. I'll use my bone folder to fold all of the score marks. And then I'm going to apply a little bit of adhesive on the larger flap so that we can close this envelope up. So you just want to make sure that this is good, strong adhesive so that your envelope doesn't come apart. And then we'll just seal all this together. All right, so that is our envelope. Now you can go ahead and create this 12 times. And I'll wait right here. Once you've got your envelopes created, we're going to make some card bases to go inside of these envelopes. We're going to need 12 pieces of cardstock that measure 8.5 inches by 11 inches. So first we're going to need to cut this piece of paper down. Across the 11-inch side, we're going to cut this down to 10 inches. And then we're going to rotate the cardstock, and across the 8.5-inch side, we're going to cut this down to 7 inches. Okay, and you'll notice there are a couple of scraps left over on the side here. These are not waste. You can save these and you can use them for sentiments, dimensions, small tags, labels, and so much more. So don't throw those away. Now we're going to take this card base and pop it into a scoreboard. Across the 10-inch side, we're going to score this at 5 inches. Okay, and now we're going to crease the fold on these card bases using a Teflon bone folder. I like to use the Teflon bone folder because it won't leave any mark on your cardstock, and it'll give us nice sharp creases. All right, so there is our card base. Now you go ahead and make this 12 times, and I'll wait right here. Okay, for the next step, we're going to work on our card box. So we have 2 pieces of cardstock that measure 8.5 inches by 11. We're going to take the first piece of cardstock and we're going to cut this down to 10.5 inches by 8.5 inches. So we're just cutting off a little 1/2 inch off of the long side of this cardstock. And then we're going to pop it into the scoreboard and we're going to score at 1.5 inches on all sides. So we'll score at 1.5 inches, rotate, score at 1.5 inches, rotate, and so on until all 4 sides are scored at 1.5 inches. Okay, for the next step, we're going to create some little slits in the cardstock. Now, we want to make sure that just these little tiny corner flaps have the angle cut in them, but the larger piece in the center, the cuts are going to be straight. So you're going to cut right across the score line. You're just going to cut out a little bit of those slivers of cardstock to help this fold together better. So we'll go ahead and crease all of the folds, and then we're going to add adhesive into these little tabs that I'm folding in. So the adhesive is only going to go on these parts. So we want to make sure that we use something good and strong here and apply adhesive to all 4 sides and cover the whole thing because you don't want this to pop off or stick out anywhere. So we want to line this up so we get nice 90-degree angles there. So our box is nice and squared off, and then I'll use my bone folder to press that adhesive in. And then for the other side, I'll do the same thing. I'll get that all lined up, and then this is what we should have. This part is going to be the bottom of our box, and it's going to hold all of our note cards and our envelopes. All right, so let's now work on the top piece of the box. For this piece, we're going to cut this at 3/8 of an inch. And I'll zoom in real close so you can see what I'm doing here. It's just one little notch less than 1/2 inch. And I'm just going to show you a comparison of the 2 little strips that we cut off, just to show you the difference. It's just ever so slightly smaller. So we're going to go ahead and make the exact same score marks the rest of the way. We're going to pop it in the scoreboard and score at 1.5 inches on all 4 sides. And then we're going to do this exact same thing as the bottom of the box by cutting down those little score marks and creating little slits beside the tabs of this box. Then we'll crease all of the folds and bend in those little tabs and apply adhesive to the tabs and adhere everything together. And now this should fit perfectly on top of your box. It should fit together nice and snug, just like this. Now you can create some finger notches in this box if you like. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to leave it just like this. I think it's simple and pretty, and now we're just going to work on putting some cards inside of this box. Okay, so the next part of this project, I'm going to grab my paper pack and I'm going to pull it out, and this has 24 sheets. You get 2 of each pattern, so I'm just splitting it up and taking out 1 of each pattern for this note card set. And then I'll put the rest back in the package and save that for another project. And now here are my 12 card bases ready to go. And I'm going to make 12 different cards using these 6x6 pattern papers. And I'm going to use up every single piece. There's going to be no waste for this project. Okay, so first I'm going to kind of figure out how I want to lay down this pattern paper. And I decided that there's a lot of patterns that the orientation mattered. So I decided to create all of these cards in a landscape mode. So what I'm going to do is turn my cardstock, and I want to cut this down to create a 4x6 inch panel for the front of my card. So I'm just being mindful that my pattern stays in a landscape when I'm cutting it up. Okay, so that looks good. And then I'm going to take this leftover piece and I'm going to cut that down into 1-inch strips. So I get 2 1-inch strips. Okay, so that's what I've decided to do with this pattern paper. I'm going to take 1 strip for the inside of the card and 1 strip for something else I'll show you later. So now that I have my measurements all worked out and I know what I'm doing, I'm going to cut my first cut at 1 inch and then put that to the side. And then I'll cut another piece at 1 inch. So that will give me my 2 1-inch strips plus my 4x6 inch panel. Okay, and I'm going to continue to do that for all of my pattern papers. And then once that's done, I'm going to take all of these pieces and adhere them to the front of my cards. So I'm just going to line them up and just eyeball it. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. I like the way that these little patterns look in the center of the card with that nice white border. And then I'm going to take this leftover scrap and I'm going to adhere it onto the inside of my card. I feel like when you tie these sorts of elements together from the outside of the card to the inside, it just gives it a really nice cohesive and finished look. So I think that looks pretty. And I'm going to do this same thing to all of my patterns. And I'm going to keep that little extra strip with that pattern, and we'll come back to that in a minute. So once this is all done, now I'm going to take that little leftover strip and I'm going to cut a little banner flag into them. So I'm just going to cut a 1/4 inch down the center and then come from the corner up to that 1/4 inch slice, if that makes sense. And I'm going to do that to all of my ends. So I'm just going to create a little flag. Then I'm going to adhere this to the back flap of my envelope. I just thought it was kind of cute just to decorate the envelope a little bit with just a little bit of subtle pattern there. And I just adhere this down to the flap of my envelope. And that's about it. I don't want this to interfere with the address or whatever I write on the front of the envelope. So I just kept that on the flap just to tie everything together nicely and decorate that little white envelope. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing to all of my patterns, decorate all of my envelopes, and now I'm going to cut up this sheet of sentiments. As I mentioned, this will be linked in the description box down below. This is a free PDF download that you can print and use to make some large 5x7 cards for yourself. So I'm just going to trim down these sentiments just to create sentiment strips. And I just want to make sure that I have nice even white borders all the way around my sentiments. And I'll get all of these sentiments cut up. And then once that's done, I'm going to come and trim off any excess around the ends of the sentiments. And I'm happy with that. And I'm going to get these all adhered to my card bases. So I just kind of thought which sentiments, thinking of you, happy birthday, thank you, which ones I thought would go best with the patterns. And so that's what I did. I just adhere these little sentiments to the front of the cards. And I just take my tape runner, apply that down, and I'm not doing anything overly complicated. I'm just having some fun creating a cute little note card set. There's no serious embellishments or, you know, fancy cutting or anything like that, or dies, or it's just super simple, super quick and easy, and you get a beautiful note card set. Here's a look at all of the thinking of you cards that I made. I've got 4 of those. And then I've got 4 thank you cards. And each one is just so different and cute. And I love the patterns and the colors here. And now I've got 4 happy birthday cards. Couple of feminine, couple of masculine. I love that little polka dot one. And that's it. So I'm going to stack all of these cards up with their coordinating envelopes. I'm going to find the envelope that coordinates with it and stack them together in the box so that when you pull out the card, the envelope is with it. You don't have to dig for it. So once those are all in order, I'm going to pop those into my little box. And that looks so pretty. And the box holds 12 envelopes and cards very beautifully with no stress. Lots of room in there. Okay, and now I'm going to wrap some baker's twine around this little box. I'm just going to wrap it like a present. I'm going to put the baker's twine, you know, twist it around, and then I'll tie a cute little bow on top, and then this project will be complete. This is such a cute little gift set to give to somebody, and it's so quick and simple and easy, but it's elegant at the same time. So that's it. This little project is complete. And all of the measurements and steps for this project are included in my Genvelope template reference book. So if you're interested in checking that out, take a look in the description box down below. I have my Genvelope template reference book on sale. And there's also a bundle deal with my Chop It Up books. So check those out. And that's it for today's video. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend it here with me. I appreciate the support as always. Coming up on screen are a couple of videos I think you may enjoy, including the playlist to my Chop It Up series. So have yourself a lovely day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!